welcome to my channel. I'm Mandi Grace, and it's time for my reading recap from August. I tend to buy a lot of books and be given a lot of books, and because of that I often have a giant stack of books that I own but I haven't read. So at the beginning of this year I decided I was going to read all of those books. This has been made rather difficult by a certain family member who just keeps adding to the stack, but anyway, basically it came down to I had to read 4 or 5 books off of my physical TBR stack every month in order to get them all read by the end of December. And on top of that, oh Ada, what are you doing? You scared me. And on top of that 4 to 5 books every month, I was also reading 1 book on writing craft every single month. I haven't made all of these goals every single month. The only one, Ada, shush, dogs. The only one that I have consistently done is the writing craft book. I've done one of those every month. I haven't missed it. But reading 4 or 5 books of my TBR stack every month has not been happening. Last month, I believe there were 2 books on my stack, 1 that I had read and 1 that I had barely started. So let's see if we do any better than that this time. But I've decided I should have been doing this whole time. I'm not doing it now. That I should have been counting the TBR, not the way that I have been, as in I put the little like 0 of 5 and then like count up as I read them. No, what I should have been doing was like, this is the 100 and some odd books I have to get through this year, and then add it. Be like, oh, my brother gave me 5 books, it's now this many. Oh, I read this many. We subtract. I should, you know, it would have been more entertaining, I think. But it's too late now. So what did we read? First and foremost, we had this lovely little book called Assassin's Heart, which was given to me in a book exchange. It has this lovely little note that says, I loved this book and I hope you enjoy it as well. Thanks for being a part of the book exchange. Yep. I hated this book. I read exactly to page. Actually, it wasn't. It was like four pages off of exactly to the page. Anyway, I read basically to the middle of this book before I decided that I needed to stop torturing myself. The problem is, I don't like not finishing things, so I rarely don't finish a book even if I hate it. But anyway, I finally came to the conclusion that 1, this would take me like a month to get halfway through it because it was awful, and 2, the point of my physical TBR thing is that I don't put books on my shelf unless I want to keep them. So I was reading through all these books I hadn't read to decide if I wanted to keep them. And clearly I'm not wanting to keep this one, so there was no need to like finish reading it. I don't like it. It's not staying. It can go. So anyway, yes, that's that. We're just gonna put that there. And then I read this magical, amazing, perfect book called A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which was / is the best Beauty and the Beast retelling that I have ever read. I mean, it's it's so hard. This book is. The sequel's not, but this book is. This was amazing. Anyway, I read it in like 2 or 3 days, something like that, and it was just the most magical experience of my life. I highly recommend it. And then I read the sequel, also in like 2 or 3 days. Didn't love it, but here's my thing. If you want like my actual thoughts on what was, you know, going on, I do have a reading vlog of this and that, which went up on my channel I think this week, earlier Monday. Anyway, yeah, but the shortened version is, I think I would enjoy the romance of this story if I read it a second time, because the first time I was reading it I wanted the romance to go a different way, so I spent the whole book not enjoying the romance because I didn't want it. But now that I know that that is the romance, so there's nothing I can do about it, I think if I read it again, it actually would be enjoyable. And the other thing that I really disliked There's no fixing it. I learned to hate one of the characters based off of his actions, and it made me very unhappy. Because in this book, I loved him. And in this book, I hated him. Which is why this is is the best Beauty and the Beast retelling I've ever read. Because this one absolutely is. And this one sort of like killed the happiness of this one. So then suddenly it wasn't my favorite anymore because this is the rest of the story. And I don't like the prince in this version. Okay? In this book he was fine. In this book he's hideous. So there's that. I feel very strongly about A Heart So Fierce and Broken. Oh, so strongly. I said I was going to give you the short version, and then I just started ranting. What else have we read? I am about halfway through The Wise Man's Fear. This is amazing. Every page is perfect. I love it. That's what I have to say about this. This sequel did not make me angry the way that sequel did. Anyway, this is amazing, and I absolutely love it. And I'm hoping to be done by the end of the week. I think I can do that. Another 500 pages, 450. I can do that. It won't be done in August, and there won't be more books in August because tomorrow's the last day of August, so it's not happening. But yeah, that's what I've read. So, better than last month. And then, of course, my book on writing craft, the vlog of this is already up on my channel. I really liked this one. And there was actually one section of this book that was, interesting and new, and I learned something, so, might try writing a story with flat arcs now, I don't know. But anyway, this one was really good, and I liked it. That's my stack. I've also rearranged my bookshelves slightly, which is, not interesting necessarily for you, but I want to tell someone about it, so I'm telling you. Because I recently did a bookshelf tour of these shelves, and then I rearranged them a week later. So there's that. But anyway, it's just this shelf specifically because I moved the you probably can't even see this shelf down here, but anyway, I moved the what was I saying? The romances that I don't really read much of anymore. They're just, a carryover from my youth. I moved them all down to the bottom shelves, and I put the books here, which again, I don't know if you can even see. I put books here that I read. This shelf reflects my current reading taste. How's that? And there are some romances on here. This is going to be interesting if you can't see any of this. I'm gonna look. I'm gonna check. Let's see. Do you want to see the books or my face? We're gonna go with the books. Over here, I have some contemporary romances. I have some historical romances, which I actually really do love historical romances. I don't know where the camera's looking, so I don't know how crooked I have to be for you to... What if we get on our knees? Here we go. Anyway, historical romances. And then we have my, suspense and thriller section over here. And then we move into the sci-fi, and then the fantasy, which just sort of goes on back there. And then in the corner over here, don't know if you can see this, I have The Hate You Give and The Color of Compromise, which just goes with The Hate You Give because they are a set in my head. My brain just decided they go together. Anyway, that's a story for another day. So yes, but what I intend to do now, I really hope you can see me because I'm just talking at you, but anyway, what I intend to do now is when I read books that I really, really love, like these three, which fall under this category, they're going to go to this shelf, which means I'm going to have to make space, which means people are going to get demoted from the shelf. And I find the whole idea of you've made it to the shelf of honor and then oh, who's being axed? I don't know, it seems like fun for me, even though it's not going to be anything for anybody else. So I'm telling you about it, because I'm about to have to do this. Because not only do I have 3 books that are coming to this shelf, I have 3 somewhat thick books that are coming to this shelf. So we may have to axe more than 3 to make the space, and I'm just excited about this whole experience. Because eventually, as books move up or down from the shelf, I expect this shelf to just become a shelf of books that I love. which right now is a shelf of books that I love some of them and read some of them. You know, there's a mixture here. There's a mixture. I don't dislike any of these books, or they wouldn't be on my shelf, but some of them I love more than others. But I expect, with all of this, like, axing of books thing that I'm going to be doing, that this shelf will just be, like, my favorites at some point. Probably most of it is going to end up being fantasy. It's just going to, like, bleed over into the rest of the shelf. I can't put this one there yet because I'm only halfway through it. You have a home. You're going down to the other shelf. Anyway, I can't put this one yet because I'm reading it. But I'm going to put these two on the shelf now. Do some, you know, who are we voting off the island? And then I'm putting that one in the to-go box because I'm not keeping it. You are going into the Goodwill box. I do not feel bad about throwing that book. I'd burn it, except that, you know, the person who gave it to me was like, I loved this book, so, you know, there might be a reader out there who will love that book. So I won't burn it. But I considered it. Who's going? You know what? The contemporary romances are going. That's what's happening. We don't need you. You can go down with all the other romances. There's not really a rhyme or reason to my fantasy yet. Like, they're not, like, by author's last name or by, you know, what I love the most. Or there's no rhyme or reason on the shelf, really, except for the sections. There's the romance section and the thriller suspense section and the sci-fi section and the fantasy section. And then the hate you give on the end with the color of compromise. But anyway, the sections are a thing, but there's not really organization within the sections, and I'm trying to decide if I want organization or if I'm just shoving this on the shelf. This way, because, you know, I think I'm just shoving. We're doing it. I have nothing else to add. I guess that's the end of this video. I expect this shelf to just become a book. It's just, what am I saying? The shelf is going to become a book. That's what I said. Which was / is the best Beauty and blah. Blah.